Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 14, a Sunday afternoon edition of the Bandwagon Hockey Podcast. We're at that time of year where it's pretty much just talking about games. I mean, there's no trade rumors to talk about. There's not a lot of drama because not too many people are getting fired this time of year. Oh, wait, Chuck Fletcher, Philadelphia Flyers. There's a topic that I actually just am now remembering. But yeah, we had a 15-game slate last night, followed a 2-game slate on Friday night. Big NHL vibes there with the schedule makers. But maybe before we dive into everything, Mr. Heineman, how you doing?
I am doing quite all right. It's been a nice, relaxing weekend. We get daylight savings today, so we get that extra hour of sunlight back. So that'll be nice going forward.
What time did you get out of bed today?
Oh, I think it was closer to noon for sure.
Yeah, I was mad because I sleep in. I tend to sleep in on the weekend if I can, but I don't like to. Like if I wake up and there's a 10 on my phone, I'm pissed. I'm like, I just wasted so much time. And today I got up. It was like 10:15, and I was like, "Oh, it's supposed to be like 9:15 right now." I'm so angry.
Well, and I think we'll jump right into the Sens here shortly. But I stayed up for the full game last night, and on the East Coast that starts at 11, so it ended closer to 2. So I wasn't fully asleep by the time it hit 2, and 2 is when daylight savings hit. So, so I saw it jump all the way to 3.
Wow, that's kind of cool, to be honest.
Yeah, it was weird, but after a bad game and being up till technically 3, and then wasting half my day today, it's been a weird 12 hours. So how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, no, I'm doing good. I have a weird question for you. I caught a little bit of slack this morning from my family. Do you wear shirts? Do you wear a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt or anything underneath your hoodie?
Depends on the situation. If I'm going out
I agree.
most of the time. Yeah. If I'm going out most of the time, but right now I'm not.
Yeah, if I'm just chilling at home, I won't have a shirt under. I do right now because this hoodie sags a little bit, so I didn't want the viewers to get any chest hair action.
Fair enough.
But if I'm just chilling at home, if I'm playing video games or whatever, I don't. But then if I'm going to school in a hoodie, I do. And my parents, my family thought it was so weird that I didn't have a shirt underneath my hoodie this morning.
Nah, that's completely valid. It's the first thing I throw on when I get up out of bed, pretty much, especially in the winters. It's a little chilly sometimes, still waking up. You just throw a hoodie on. I don't want always those 2 layers when I'm just vibing in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's completely valid.
Just wanted to bring that to the pod, get a consensus, get some opinions. So you want to go Sens right off the bat then? Is that how we're going to do this?
Let's rip off the Band-Aid.
Start with a thud. Yeah. Okay, so big game last night for the Sens going up against the Vancouver Canucks. Earlier in the night, Pittsburgh won, but the Islanders lost in regulation to Washington, which is a big result for Ottawa. Ottawa had 3 games in hand, back 6 points to the Islanders. They could have made it 4 points back with 3 games in hand, which quick math tells you that you can pass the team without help in that scenario. And they dropped a pile of crap in Vancouver. They lost 5-2. No one was good. The first 5, 6, 7 minutes were awesome. I was loving how the game was going, and then it just freaking fell off a cliff from there. The wrong players were in the lineup and the wrong players were out of the lineup yet again, a trend we've been now seeing for 65 consecutive games, more or less. Chikrin's still on the third pair, playing less minutes at 5-on-5 than Nick Holden. Love to see that. Everyone saw it coming. I saw it coming. I knew it was going to happen. I was like, it's great. Chikrin's in town, this, that, but he's not going to get utilized properly.
They gave me a glimmer of hope when Pierre came out and talked about the trade, saying, there's going to be no problem moving someone over. And they just straight up haven't moved anyone over yet. It's been, 4 or 5 games? And I can understand maybe the first game or two, he flies into New York, no sleep. Like, I can understand easing him in there, but we're well past that here, and in must-win games against very winnable teams, and they're just, one, not going in with the optimal lineup, which is an inherent disadvantage, and 2, the effort's just not there against the lowly teams, and I don't understand why.
It's crazy, like dropping a thud against Chicago in easily their worst performance of the season, and then just, I don't know, they came out firing on all cylinders. Batherson was flying. Brady Tkachuk had a couple great chances. Sanderson looked good in those first few minutes. And then just, I don't know, everyone hit the toilet. I'm not sure what happened. Vancouver dominated the middle 40 minutes of the game.
Yeah. Vancouver just, they took over the special teams game too.
Yeah.
And I think early in the game, that's what really just changed it. I can't remember if it was an Ottawa power play that they just killed off really efficiently, or if it was one of their own. But anyways, they had some sort of special team scenario earlier on, and that was what really changed it for me. Like, after that, it was pretty much all Vancouver until the Sens had a baby push at the end, but it was not nearly enough.
And it's kind of really bringing to light how dependent this team is on the power play. What are they, 0 for their last... Like, they didn't score one yesterday, and they were 0 for 15 over the last 15 going in. So what are they now, 0 for 18 in their last few games on the power play?
Yeah, over the last stretch, they've, like you said, they're like 0 for 18 or something like that. But they've also given up 3 or 4 shorthanded goals. Like, it's been atrocious.
Yeah.
Their power play over the last little bit has just been flat out bad after being one of the best in the league. So it's time to switch it up, especially since you have this secret weapon that you just drop into your lineup in Jacob Chychrun. Like, he led the league in defenseman goals 2 years ago. He's got a wicked shot. Like, he'll be way better in that spot than Chabot, in my opinion.
Chabot makes bad decisions. He tries to force pucks through guys. It ends up going poorly. He makes bad decisions. He tries to dance around on the blue line. Timmy does that all the time. Sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it does because he's actually capable of it. Chabot doesn't have any hands. He doesn't have hands.
And when teams have penalty killers like JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, it's gonna burn you. Yeah, it just is.
Which is kind of like an interesting topic. The shift in philosophy to put your good players on the penalty kill. Like, Tim Stützle is a penalty killer. Giroux's been killing penalties a lot of the year, albeit just mostly for face-offs, and then he gets off once they ice the puck. But it's an interesting philosophy having your best players kill penalties because it gives you a chance to create offense shorthanded.
I love it because you should be relying on your best players to win you games in all scenarios, in my opinion. And that is part of what makes DJ such a frustrating coach to watch. Because I never feel like Ottawa has the best chance to win with the players on the ice. Never.
No, you're right. And, like, Brandstrom being scratched for the last two games is crazy. Since the Sens acquired Chychrun, you could argue that Brandstrom's been he's been their glue guy. Like, you sent me a tweet, I think, was it Money Puck? Or was it Evolving Hockey? Yeah. Or something, and it basically said that out of all of the combinations that the Sens have put out there on D for the last 5 games that they've had Jacob Chychrun, the top 3 all have Erik Brandstrom on it. And that's very indicative of how he's he drives play. Like, he doesn't put up numbers like you maybe think he should based off of his size and his skill and how he plays the game. But he's an effective play driver, and he's a lot better defensively than maybe he's given credit for. And if you're going to have Chychrun on the third pair, put him with Brandstrom. Put Brandstrom on that right side. Stop putting bad players with good players. Sanderson's numbers are nowhere near where they could be because he's been dragged by a boat anchor on his right side in Travis Hamonic all season.
Yeah, and what I tweeted out this morning was what I sent you. Erik Brandstrom has been their best in terms of 5-on-5 expected goal percentage all year long. He's been their best defenseman. And the other screenshot I sent you was, that wasn't just since they acquired Chychrun either. That was all year out of all the defensive pairings that they've tried. And some of them are extremely low sample sizes, but he's appeared in 7 out of the 15 most effective pairings they've put together this year. Like he's just an effective player when he's out there, and I don't understand why he's not utilized more. And I say I don't understand, but I fully understand. It's because he's young and he's small.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have DJ's trust.
And DJ Smith is a dinosaur.
And the other thing about those things that I sent you is you mentioned that Sanderson is stuck with this boat anchor. Guess who's number 7 on that list of 5-on-5 expected goals percentage?
Oh, I know. I'm looking at it right now. It's not hard to predict.
Yeah, it's Travis Hamonic.
At 48.7%, which is just not good. And I should clarify, in yesterday's game against Vancouver, Chychrun ended up playing 24 minutes and 23 seconds, which is good. Like, that's a lot. But yeah, I believe at the end of the second period, Nick Holden had more 5-on-5 time than Jacob Chychrun. And then I guess the third period just reconciled that complete and utter poor allocation of minutes because the team was trailing and needed offense, and by then it was too little too late. So through 2 periods of play, when the game was still within reach, Holden was playing more at 5-on-5 than Chychrun. And then what's the word? It's like score effects. Is that a term in hockey? I think that's a thing. Score effects, because the score of the game affects who plays and how teams play, this and that. Mm-hmm. And so score effects basically forced DJ into playing Chychrun a lot more than he was, when he should have been playing that much anyway.
Yeah, and that does affect the situations, but there's also times where DJ just doesn't give a crap about it, because there was a situation last night where Ottawa scores 2 fairly quickly with the time running down, makes it 4-2, but there's 4 minutes left in the game now. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you were out of this game 4-0, and it's 4-2, and you have 4 minutes left to get 2 goals and tie this up.
And who came over the bench?
You should be riding your best players in that moment. I don't want to see, I want to see Timmy Sitza play all 4 of those minutes. I don't care.
At least 2 of them.
And he had a timeout that he didn't really use until the very last minute, but that's another thing. Dylan Gambrell comes over the boards.
Yep.
With 4 minutes left in a 4-2 game. I don't get it. It makes 0 sense.
Dylan Gambrell, he of 1 goal and 4 assists through 45 games this season, playing consistent center minutes.
It's disgusting. They're just always at an inherent disadvantage. I get he's a lovely human being, and the guys like him. Everyone likes him. There's no disputing that. But this team is not nearly as effective as it can be. I would love to see Alex DeBrincat with a different coach. And if DJ outlasts him in Ottawa, I will be pissed.
Do you think he will? I saw that discourse going through Twitter.
I don't know. I have no clue. I hope not. I hope with new ownership we get a look at a different coach, but I don't know.
This is gonna sound ridiculous, but just bear with the point. I would rather Ottawa kind of just fizzle out of this thing over the next couple games and have the next sort of the last 10 games be meaningless, and it be because very noticeably because of DJ Smith's usage, to maybe force Dorion into a decision, rather than the team come so close to making it, missing, and then having DJ Smith come back next season.
Yeah.
At this point, and we'll get into this in a sec, at this point, Ottawa's not going to make the playoffs. I have come to grips with that. I thought it was possible until the Chicago game. The Chicago game was the nail in the coffin for me. This team isn't going to make it. They now, again, have 2 teams to leapfrog. They were the first team out yesterday, and now they're back to being 2 teams out, 6 points back. And
their
they've
math
missed
is,
their opportunity. You needed to clean this week
Yeah.
up. Like that 5-game win streak
Yeah.
needed to be an 8-game win streak, and it didn't become that. And now I would say that playoffs are not happening. I am impressed.
They just, I don't know. Their math is still okay, but you're not gonna make playoffs dropping 5 points to Chicago and Vancouver. It's not gonna happen.
Especially when starting Tuesday, you have a series of games. If forever who doesn't know, Edmonton, Colorado, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Boston, Tampa, New Jersey, Florida. Those, how many games is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games in 13 days, 14 days against elite teams.
And who knows? Maybe this is what's best for them because they always play the best teams good and play down to the worst teams. But like I don't know. It makes zero sense, and they've set themselves up very poorly going into a very hard stretch of games.
I just think my point is that I'd rather the team fizzle out and it be noticeably because DJ Smith did. Like I feel like when Dorian acquired Jacob Chychrun, he pictures Jacob Chychrun being thrust into the top 4 as almost like a trial for the last bit of the year to get a better idea of how to utilize him next season when this team will have legitimate playoff expectations that won't be ill-advised, maybe like they were coming into this season. And we're just not getting to see it. Like, we just haven't seen it yet. We just have not seen it for no reason.
No, and like, I get we're in a playoff push, but everything that should be happening in these last games should be with next year in mind.
Yeah.
Like, you should be trying out things right now to get things locked in place for next year. That's the goal. Or it should be the goal. Like, Nick Holden's not here next year.
No.
HNIC is not here next year. Austin Watson is not here next year. Dylan Gambrell is not here next year.
Yeah.
Figure it out. God damn it.
I really want to see Sanderson and Chychrun on a pair. I really want to see it. That's like defenseman
If I see
porn.
any of those players back in an Ottawa Senators jersey next year, I might lose my mind.
Sanderson Chychrun is like defense porn. Like, that would be so good. I just want to see it. Okay, we've spent now 17 minutes on the Sens. Let's move on.
Yeah.
The wild card race in the East. I don't want to say it's heating up because it's been like the biggest story playoff race wise for the last month. But
it's almost fallen off the last couple days.
Yeah, because Pittsburgh and the Islanders won't lose.
Yeah, the teams chasing keep dropping games, other than Florida, really. But I don't know.
Buffalo and Detroit are done. Ottawa, they're right there. I mean, they're not done. I like Ottawa's chances better than I like Washington's, but still don't love it. I'm not going to lie. I want to see Florida make it. I just think that not having Matthew Tkachuk in the playoffs is not something I want anymore. Like, after last season, I just don't want to see that.
I agree.
I just don't want to see
I don't
playoffs.
like the makeup of their team at all, but I want to see Matthew Tkachuk in the playoffs. I just do.
You don't like the makeup of their team? Like, just coming into the
I
year
don't.
Or in general?
No, I don't like their team at all. I hate it.
Why?
Terrible goaltending, horrible defense, pretty much. Like, just a lot of offense that doesn't really click all the time. I don't know.
Oh, so you don't like the philosophy behind the team. Like, I like the players on the team.
I like some of the players on the team.
Okay. I don't know. I just want to see, like, Matthew Tkachuk, Aaron Ekblad, Alexander Barkov in a playoff series against.
That's it.
It'd probably be Boston. I want to see Matthew Tkachuk take on the Boston Bruins. Like, that's what I want to see.
That's it, though. Like, I don't want to see Sergei Bobrovsky in a playoff series at all.
That's tough. I really hope they can move off of that contract. Because Florida's a team that I know they're in the same division as the Sens, whatever. But, like, they're just a team I want to see succeed. Like, I just love the idea behind the Tkachuk trade. Like, I really liked that. I still love it, especially given how Calgary's doing. I just love the idea of their core. the complementary pieces aren't there, but I love the idea of Florida's core and want to see them succeed. The only issue is that they have a $10 million goalie who is worth probably $3 million, taking up a part of that core.
I love the idea of their 3 players.
Okay, fair. I think there's going to be a lot of movement in Florida, but in the meantime, in the offseason, I really want to see them make the playoffs. Like, I do not want to see the New York Islanders make the playoffs.
No, I will get on board with you there, 100%.
I have no
I don't want to
interest.
see either the Islanders or the Penguins make the playoffs, but here we are.
I don't want the Penguins, Islanders, or Capitals to make the playoffs. Let's put it at that. I want new teams and exciting teams. Florida is an exciting team. Ottawa and Buffalo are new teams. But, I don't know. It's hockey, so it's probably just going to be the same teams.
So, according to Money Puck, the odds are currently sitting at Pittsburgh 92% to make the playoffs. The Islanders at 46.9% to make the playoffs. Florida 39%, Ottawa 15.7%, Washington 7%, and Buffalo 3.5%.
I'm shocked that Money Puck is still that high on Ottawa. It's crazy. They're like the one model that doesn't hate Ottawa's chances.
It's because they have so many relevant matchups.
Yeah. No, I know.
Buffalo, I'm pretty sure doesn't have. They have a hard schedule, and it's not like. I think it's a lot of teams that aren't really in this stretch. Like, it's either top of the league teams or West teams or stuff like that. Ottawa has many that are in the mix.
Ottawa doesn't play the Western Conference again. By Thursday, they will be done with the Western Conference. So I think that's a big reason. Like, they play Calgary, then they're at Edmonton, and then they're versus Colorado on Thursday, and then they're done with the West. Their final 15 or so games of the year are all Eastern Conference teams. They still have a game against Pittsburgh. They still have 2 games against the Panthers. So, I mean, there is an avenue there it's just those games are so tough, right? And so that's probably where percentage comes from. We've talked about that. Yeah, I don't know. This playoff race has kind of underwhelmed. I hope that there's maybe some teams that need to lose, and some teams that need to win, just to sort of make it a little closer, because it does kind of look like Pittsburgh and the Islanders are just going to keep winning, and it's just not going to be that interesting, because I'm dying for a playoff race because there really isn't one in the West. There weren't any last year.
Well, it's gotten a little bit more interesting in the West.
It has. So let's maybe transition over there. Winnipeg, what is you doing, baby?
Yeah, I don't know what is they doing.
It's almost like the curse of Les. We had her on the trade deadline preview, and since then they've been terrible.
She was literally alluding to how they were slipping a little bit going into the deadline, and she wasn't sure if they should take a big swing, and they have just not stopped really losing or playing poorly since then.
They're 3-5-2 in their last 10, and that last 10 predates 2 losses. So let's put it this way: in their last 12, they're 3-7-2. Not good. Mm-hmm. They are currently 6 points up on Nashville. Nashville has 3 games in hand. The good thing for Winnipeg, though, is that apparently Calgary has no interest in making the playoffs. So Calgary hasn't made any ground, which is kind of disappointing as a Flames sort of like as a person who keeps an eye on the Flames, and we have good connections with sort of some people in Flames Nation.
You always want to see Canadian teams do well too.
Yeah, and Calgary just hasn't really done that, especially with that, like how exciting of an offseason they had. They're just in a disappointing year. Yeah. 13 overtime losses is hilarious. On behalf of the Calgary Flames. But yeah, so out west we've basically got, I don't know, 8 teams within 9 points of each other, and then Nashville 6 points back of Winnipeg. Those top 7 teams are pretty much surefire gonna make it. You could make an argument against Colorado, but they're just gonna make it. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Edmonton's that next team too, and like they're not going to miss the playoffs. Like, I think the top 7 are set. I would even say Winnipeg is going to make it, but if Winnipeg keeps losing, maybe Nashville gets into it, but I don't know if there's enough time. Do you have a thought about the West? Maybe we can talk about some of the matchups. There's some juicy potential matchups in the West that might be interesting.
I don't have too many thoughts on the West. I think
Boring
it's super
conference
interesting
this
that yeah, it really is. I just think it's super interesting that the Jets are falling like this. Like, they look like they were finally having a pretty good season, putting it all together with Hellebuck returning to his form, getting a Norris nominee season from Josh Morrissey, their offense clicking, like one of the best top sixes in the league. It felt right. And I haven't been following them too closely, so I'm not sure what really flipped, but I don't know. I would love to see them figure it out and stay in the playoff push, because I think that team has so much potential that they just haven't really put together yet, and they're running out of time really quickly to make anything of it.
They play Tampa today. Morrissey and Lowry are considered doubtful. Big loss there. Yeah. It's a matchup of the backups. Brian Elliott against David Riddick probably doesn't bode well for Winnipeg, because Tampa's kind of rolling right now.
Yeah, like the entire league played yesterday, so most teams will be on a back-to-back today.
Yeah, true, actually. That's a good point. But yeah, I don't know. I think, what are they looking at right now? Winnipeg's looking at a first-round matchup with Vegas right now. Probably either Vegas or Dallas, LA maybe. I just don't love it. I think that's like a first-round 5, maybe 6 games. And then the offseason might be fireworks for Winnipeg, because they've got, as we've alluded to, go listen to the trade deadline preview, Winnipeg Jets edition. Lot of contracts coming up in the next 18 months for that team. 13 months.
Yeah.
How many months? I don't know. Is it 15?
I don't know.
15 months?
Year and a half.
Year and a bit. But yeah, so yeah.
Although the West might be pretty boring this year, there is one potential playoff series that could have some sparks and emotion in it, and that would be the Vegas Golden Knights meeting the Los Angeles Kings at any point in these playoffs, because that is going to be must-see TV that I really want to see. Jonathan Quick has been stellar for the Golden Knights since being traded there. And since he got traded out of Los Angeles in the way that he did, you just love to see it for him bouncing back. And I personally would love to see him in like a revenge series against the Kings. I think that would be so funny.
It'd be wild. Yeah, I don't really know how else to put it. I want that. That's like my marquee West matchup that I want to see.
Just like that's like the only storyline that I'm really following at the moment anyways.
Yeah.
Just like hearing how upset he was in the way that ended, it would be so awesome to see him get a chance to go all vintage Quick on them in the playoffs.
The West is like shaping up to get really interesting starting in the second round. I mean, like if you just look at the matchups, like Colorado, Minnesota, like that's a good series. Colorado should have a fairly decent time in that series if they get healthy. And then Edmonton, Dallas could be sick. That could be really sick.
Yeah.
And then maybe you get a rematch between Colorado and Edmonton in the second round. I don't know. But then the Pacific is looking awesome. I mean, LA, Seattle, playoff hockey in Seattle should be a blast. Just because that building gets rocking. And then a second round hypothetical matchup with Vegas and LA would be like premier storylines. Like it doesn't get better than that in terms of storylines. I can't think of anything better than that unless like, I don't know, Buffalo and Vegas face each other in the Stanley Cup final. I don't know. I mean, that's good stuff. I mean, but I don't know. It's just so hard to get excited about the West because like there's like literally 6 teams that are better than every other team in the West and the East. So
yeah, and like when Dallas is leading the Central with 13 overtime losses, I don't know. They're a good team. I know they are, but it just feels weird. I know, you know, it just feels like there's some weird stuff going on in the West when you see that.
They are they've won 6 more games than they've lost, and they're first in the conference, second in the conference by a point.
Yeah,
and it's just like, What is this league, dude? What is this league?
I don't know, man. It's odd.
Like there's okay. This is what's crazy to me. They have 8 more points than Winnipeg and 1 less win.
Yeah.
Is that not wild?
Oh, you want to hear something? They have 15 more points than Ottawa, but only 3 more wins.
Like, that's a joke.
Like, Dallas only has 3 more wins than Ottawa, and they lead their conference.
I'd be really curious to do. Honestly, we could kind of do it super quick right now. Like, if you were to go wins losses,
no, they don't lead their conference anymore. But
if you were to go wins losses, like no overtime losses, so you either get 2 points or 0 points, which is what I would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming like a 3-point system isn't going to happen, like the standings in the West would be Vegas, LA, Minnesota, Seattle, Winnipeg. Then you'd get Dallas, Edmonton, and Colorado at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I've tried to stay away from this conversation this year because it comes off as a very homery take. Well, it comes off as a homery take this year too because I'm pretty sure Ottawa's in the playoffs in just win-losses. But it just – I hate the loser points so much. I hate it. It artificially makes teams look what they're not. I don't know.
I don't like talking about it because it comes up every season, you know?
Yeah.
That's my thing. It's like, it's exhausting because it's not going to change.
And they're not going to change it, yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you just save your breath. But it's just crazy how much different the league... Like, can you imagine this playoff race right now with wins, losses? You would have Islanders at 34, and then you'd have Pittsburgh, Florida, and Ottawa at 33 wins, and then you'd have Washington and Buffalo at 32. Like, shut up. That's insane.
Yeah.
But instead, you have a 7-point discrepancy
awesome.
Between those teams. And it's like,
yeah,
what are we doing
here? Because Pittsburgh
here?
has 10 overtime losses.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Like, what's more entertaining?
What are we doing?
You know? Like,
we're gonna prop Pittsburgh's playoff window open because they traded for terrible players just because they've been getting to the overtime period.
The loser point is supposed to create parity, and it straight up does not.
It just doesn't.
Like
that's
theory,
their number one argument, and it just doesn't.
In theory, it should create parity. You'd think that more teams getting points all the time would create parity, but the issue with that is that when you get these mediocre to decent teams constantly picking up loser points, it pushes them into a tier that they're not really a part of. It pushes a team like Pittsburgh to a tier above teams like Florida, Washington, Ottawa, Buffalo, when they truly just are not a tier better than those teams.
And as much fun as 3-on-3 is, it places importance on something that's not really hockey. Like, it's 3-on-3.
Yeah.
Right? It's not... 5-on-5 is playoff hockey, and you can have a conversation on what is hockey, I guess, but yeah. I don't know. I don't love placing so much importance and playoff implications in something that's not 5-on-5.
Would you... I'm just thinking of this now, like I didn't read this anywhere. Would you be open... Like, how do you think this would work? Maybe you do 2 points and 0 points until it gets to a shootout. So if you win in overtime, you get 2 points, and the losing team gets it. No, because then that would make overtime shitty. Never mind. Because that would ruin overtime. If you did only the loser point, if it goes to a shootout, that would ruin overtime.
Yeah. I don't want to see a shootout at all either. But
yeah, no, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, if you did it so that it's only a 3-point game if it gets to a shootout, so overtime it's still 2-0 for win or loser. But if you did that, because you already see like tie games with 3 minutes left suck because both teams just want to secure that point, and so you'd see like a drag of 3-on-3 hockey for 5 minutes if it came to a point where the shootout guarantees a loser point, but overtime doesn't.
Well, like, even if you took away the loser point in general, would you not see teams pushing to end it more?
Well,
because
that's the thing.
why would you want to play
that.
more hockey? Why would you want to play more hockey for no reason if you can just end it there?
Because that's what teams do anyway. In a tie game, if there was 3 minutes left, and it's 1-1. Like, you see both teams become extremely passive and conservative because they just both want to get the loser point.
Yeah, because there's an incentive, but you take away that incentive, there's
if
no
you just
reason
take
to play
it
the
away
game like that.
Yeah, if you just take it away, that would happen. But I don't think that's going to happen, so I'm trying to, like, compromise.
I don't think it is either.
I'm just trying to compromise and say only a loser point if it gets to a shootout, but then you'd start seeing so many more shootouts because teams wouldn't try in overtime.
Yeah, I don't think we see that either because the league has already basically stripped any importance away from the shootout because they don't even consider it for a tiebreaker.
Yeah. I would rather ties than overtime losses. I would rather a tie than 3-point games.
Yeah,
like I would like 2 points for a win, 1 for a tie, 0 for a loss. That's what I want. I don't care. And do your overtime even.
I think
do
I would
overtime.
rather that too.
Do overtime too. So you do your overtime, no shootout. If it's still tied after overtime's done, tie.
Yeah.
I'd be down. I would like to see that. Can you imagine you're in a playoff race and you need 2 points, not 1. You need 2 points. The overtime, the push you'd see from a team. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That'd be so good.
It'd be fun.
That'd be so good.
Like you'd like almost pull a goalie if you need that extra point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. It would be it'd be pretty sick. Okay. Wow, we spent a lot of time talking about more.
I know, we've been going off on tangents here. You want to flip to Toronto Edmonton quick?
Yeah, so a bit of a barn burner in Toronto yesterday. The Leafs take it 7-4. Hilariously, Jack Campbell does not get to the start in his return to Toronto. Understandable, given the way he's played, but definitely got to be upsetting from his perspective.
Teams love to do that, though. They love to emotionally protect goalies. Like, Toronto did that twice with Ottawa, I'm pretty sure. Murray hasn't played Ottawa yet, so...
Well, they also haven't been in Ottawa. I'd be curious to see if he gets to start on one of the Saturdays, because they play each other 2 out of the next 3 Saturdays. So, I'd be curious. But I'm going to be missing the first one, which just sucks. So I hope it's not that one. I hope it's the next one because I will boo the shit out of that guy. I don't care. I mean, so Toronto takes it 7-4. Toronto Edmonton is always a marquee matchup. It's McDavid versus Matthews, but I kind of think it might be starting to become Marner versus McDavid. I mean, he was the second best player on the ice that included Austin Matthews and Leon Draisaitl. Marner was the second best player on the ice. McDavid is unconditionally always the best player on the ice. I won't listen to any debates about that. He put up 3 points. McDavid Marner had 1+3. He played almost 23 minutes, 22 minutes, 54 seconds, was all over the place, had 2 defensive gems that led to goals, one of his own, one I think was Tavares, I can't remember. I was very, just kind of monitoring the game. I had it on in the background while I was doing homework. But yeah, I think we've sort of mentioned on the pod before, at least I know I have, I think Marner is more important to the Leafs than Matthews. He drives the team.
Yeah, when that team is at their best, I think Marner is their best player, or at least driving the play.
Yeah.
He might not always be putting up the points or the major goals, but he's always the one that's making plays. And last night, he just took the game over for them. It looked like it could have been going south real quick with, I think it was McDavid who made it 3-1 pretty early on. It looked like it was maybe just going to turn into another McDavid show, but Marner turned that around real quick, and I think they had 3 goals in 3 minutes or something like that, and took the lead 4-3 and didn't look back one bit. All sparked by him. So you're right. We have had this conversation before, and I think just more and more proof keeps coming of it that he is the heartbeat of that team.
And also, I think since the deadline, I just, obviously I'm not, but I'd be a lot more afraid of Edmonton come playoff time. Ekholm looks amazing, and Bouchard looks ready to take the leap that he had been kind of blocked from making because of the presence of Tyson Barrie. Bouchard played 25 minutes last night. 2 assists.
I love the makeup of that defense so much more. It makes so much more sense. Trading out Barrie for Ekholm and now Bouchard has that space to kind of move into that offensive a little bit more. And Ekholm is just solid, both ends of the ice, really. So it makes it a lot more efficient, I feel like.
It's definitely, yeah, that's a good word for it. It's an efficient defense. It makes sense. It takes less of the burden. It lessens the burden on Darnell Nurse to really be the only guy that exists on the left side, because now you have this brute force, amazing defensively Matthias Ekholm on that second pair on the left side, who can kill penalties and just in general take a lot of the matchup difficulties and the burden off of Darnell Nurse. And then now you're seeing Bouchard move into that Tyson Barrie role where he is just as good, if not better, and also 6-7 years younger. So just like an awesome makeup for the team. But let's, like, again, circling back to Toronto, we talk about how Marner is, like, arguably, like, there's a genuine argument to be made that Marner is, at least this season, the best player on the team. Actually, I don't even think that's an argument to be made.
There's
no argument.
I don't think
there's
any argument this season.
Even Nylander's been better than Matthews this season, and it's reflective in the stat sheet. Like, just go look at it. Matthews has not driven play. He hasn't been as effective defensively. He's not scoring goals. I don't know what's up with him. Could just be a down year, which is still crazy because he's going to score 35 goals and put up 80 points. But it's essentially half of what he did last year. Exactly. It is. It's like 30 less goals than he had last year. And so something might be up there. But again, like, this is more and more there's more and more proof that this is Mitch Marner's team. It may not reflect that on the cap sheet. It probably won't 2 years from now when Matthews is making 14 or 15 million and Marner's making 12 and a half. And that's just because of their position. But this is Marner. Like, Toronto runs on Marner, not Matthews.
Yeah. And he's the Toronto boy. Like, he's probably so emotionally invested, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, like, it makes sense that he would be so into it right now and wanting to drive this. I don't know. Like, obviously Matthews would want to win too, but I don't know. It just feels like he's not there right now.
I think it's honestly like a byproduct of just how much shit gets thrown Marner's way, especially after he sort of has underperformed in the playoffs the last few years, and then he's the local boy. It just seems like Matthews is able to just let stuff roll off his back. Like, he doesn't succumb to criticism. He kind of just doesn't care. Like, he blocks it out. You can kind of tell too, like, the vibe he gives off in press conferences and stuff. Like, he just doesn't let stuff get to him. Marner's the exact opposite. Yeah. So when things are going well, you see it more in Marner's play than in Matthews' play. So it's kind of, again, like, Toronto runs on Marner because Marner, like, the way Marner sort of, like,
he is the emotional heartbeat of the team. Yeah. He is.
Yeah, and the way he plays reflects on how Toronto plays, and it's all sort of stems from, again, the emotional, I don't know, what was the word you just used?
Emotional heartbeat.
Yeah, it just comes off that way. Like, if Marner's playing well, he looks like he's feeling good, the Leafs play well. If he's not, and things are a little bit depressing, and Marner's sort of giving shitty answers in press conferences, it usually means he's playing bad, which usually means the Leafs are playing poorly. So, I don't know. I mean, Toronto-Tampa, again, the first round. I said it last year. I thought Toronto would win it. They did not. I don't really want to make a prediction this year. We will eventually, once playoff matchups are set. I know who I'll be picking, but it's not really worth talking about because it either is going to happen or it doesn't. Do you want to wrap up the show talking about maybe some Chuck Fletcher, Philadelphia Flyers stuff? Sure. I know we didn't really prep for it because I totally forgot about it, but...
Yeah, I 100% forgot about it too. But
it's important
just before we flip there, one last thing in kind of the playoff picture. Boston is the first team to secure a spot with their fastest 50th win in NHL history, which is absurd. So I just wanted to shout that out a little bit first before we move on. Just crazy stuff coming out of that team. It'll be curious to see if they can kind of continue their dominance in playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know if you've listened, but Zdeno Chara was on Spittin' Chicklets a few weeks ago, and I had saved the podcast because I wanted to listen to that interview. It was an awesome interview. Great stories from Chara. And it kind of makes me wish he'd have either more Norrises or more Cups or both. Just because he's one of the greatest defensemen of all time. But if you look at his accolades, his individual accolades, like 1 Cup, 1 Norris, like it doesn't really stack up that way. So I wish his resume was a little more beefed up. So I'm almost like, depending on playoff matchups or whatever, like I almost want Boston to just run the table and win this thing.
Yeah, I think it's always cool to see history, so I'm definitely not against it. Like, why not? Like, it would be really cool.
It's very similar to 7 years ago now, holy crap, when Golden State went 73-9 in the NBA and just ran roughshed through the West, but then lost in 7 games to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, unless something like that's going to happen, which would be cool. Like if Boston faces Toronto in the second round and like Matthews scores like 10 goals in 7 games and Toronto wins the series, like that'd be cool. But like, I don't know. Unless something sick is going to happen, I kind of want to see Boston just go and win this thing.
Yeah. Like, there's always that chance too that they run into 2019 CBJ, but
that too. Either Pittsburgh or the Islanders or whatever. Can you imagine Florida makes it? Florida makes it and Matthew Tkachuk puts up like 16 points in 7 games or something stupid in the first round.
I was going to say like maybe Florida, but I don't see Pittsburgh or the Islanders doing that.
Can you imagine Florida going into the Garden and like just the atmosphere at the Garden in the playoffs, just that Boston fan base with Matthew Tkachuk mucking it up in there?
Matthew Tkachuk might not come out of that building alive.
I'm kind of talking myself into wanting a Florida-Boston first round matchup.
I am too.
Okay, let's talk Florida, or not Florida, Philadelphia. Chuck Fletcher out as GM. I would say I'm surprised at the timing, but I'm not because it's Philly and they're a mess. Because why is Chuck Fletcher being fired one week after the trade deadline in which he did absolutely nothing?
Nothing.
Like, I think 32 Thoughts mentioned it was very much sort of a byproduct on the fan reaction to not trading JVR, but I'm like, just wait, dude. Like, just wait. It looks so bad to do this now, a week after the deadline, after he didn't do anything.
Yeah, or why let him, like, if this was the final nail in the coffin, or you're already, like, considering going down that route, why let him do the deadline?
Yeah.
Get him out there and let Briere take over the deadline. I don't get it. Like, it's just horrendous management. I don't understand. Johnny Gaudreau should be there. They should be on their way to a little retool, but now they're spiraling into a long-ass rebuild, which Briere kind of alluded to yesterday.
Johnny Gaudreau should be there. JVR, along with, like, I don't know, a third-round pick, should be in Seattle, and Anthony D'Angelo should be somewhere not in Philly. But instead, they wanted to keep JVR because it was remember his quote, it was too hard to move money, so he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, it was too hard, so he didn't. And then, but you bring in Tony D.
And he quoted that Flyers management has an app that tells them if a trade deal is fair or not based on past deals, which is just not relevant because the trade landscape has changed so much in the last couple of years that values have changed. So that was just kind of comical that you're basically relying on a GM calculator to tell you what's a good deal or not.
He uses NHL 23 to craft trades, and then depending on if the EA Sports trade engine accepts or rejects the trade, that's the decision he makes in real life.
Little do we know, he's actually just reading out armchair GMs from Cap Friendly, made by fans.
But I mean, I don't know. This team's cap sheet is crazy. Like, I won't blame them for the Ryan Ellis thing. Like, for whatever reason, that guy's still out. He's got 5 years left on his contract, 4 after this one at 6.25. Sean Couturier, same deal, has not played this season, and he's in the first year of an 8-year contract extension. that is worth 7.75 a year. Again, just really tough. Cam Atkinson and Travis Konechny are on IR. Like, they've just got guys missing time left and right. Like, Kevin Hayes is going to get traded this offseason. Apparently, Columbus is the team. That would be really cool if I'm the Blue Jackets. Like, I would love to see Columbus do that. But if you're Philly, like, unless you're really diving into a rebuild, why would you even do that?
It sounds like they are. Like, that was one of the major quotes from Briere yesterday, is that it looks like it's going to be a longer rebuild. And I was just kind of reading some of the fan reaction under that quote, and it looked like the fans were happy to hear that from him, but hesitant that ownership would let him fully scale down a rebuild like that, because I guess it's been fairly historical that the Flyers don't like to rebuild.
They don't. Oh, they don't.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think, I don't think we've even fully mentioned yet that Daniel Briere is taking over as interim GM, and they're looking to hire a GM and a president of hockey operations here in the next little while. And it's expected that he'll have one of those two positions, according to Elliot Friedman anyways. So I would love to see him kind of have his mark on this franchise if ownership allows him to really do that, because it's been talked about that he's a really brilliant hockey mind and is going to be a very good GM in this league.
It'll be tough.
So I just hope he has the flexibility to do it the way he wants to.
I almost don't wonder if he'll have the flexibility whether ownership approves it or not, because obviously if they don't approve it, then he won't. But if they do, like, what's there for him to do? Like, Philly arguably, like, I know there's other teams out there, the Islanders are a mess, whatever, but Philly has arguably the worst cap sheet in the league. I mean, like, they've got Ryan Ellis just toiling around on LTIR. I don't know what's going on with him. He's barely played as a Flyer. This is now his second season technically as a Flyer, and I don't think he's played 20 games. I don't know. Sean Couturier, is about to miss his full season, first year of an 8-year deal. You've got Travis.
That's just like the thing. Like, you can start picking away at it. Like, it's going to be a long process. It's a bad team. It's a bad roster, but it needs to start somewhere.
Right, Ristolainen is in the first year of a 5-year deal. Travis Sanheim's 8-year deal starts next year. Obviously your JVR is gone. Joel Farabee's in the first year of a 6-year deal. He's young, but he's underperforming. I think you start with trading Kevin Hayes and Ivan Provorov and go from there. And then maybe you'll see some of these other guys start to request deals. Like, it'll be tough to move a Sanheim because that's very much like a Colton Parayko type situation. Like,
yeah, I think I don't know. If he gets the okay to start tearing this down, we're gonna see at least one of those guys move. We always do. Teams are stupid. GMs are stupid.
Provorov and Hayes, I think, are the two guys for sure.
Yeah.
That are probably actually worth their contracts, that also, like, are kind of at an age where you aren't going to be building around them anymore. But the other issue too is, like, this team's draft pick situation. Like, they traded a second for D'Angelo. It might have even been 2 seconds. Like, I'm trying to think. They don't have a second round pick until 2025.
Yeah, it was multiple.
It was 2 seconds. So they traded 2 seconds for Tony D'Angelo. Not good. They have Florida's first next year, which could be nice just given what Florida's trajectory is, although I'm a little bit more optimistic than most that Florida's going to get it turned around. They have 2 thirds, neither of which are their own in this coming draft, which is also funny. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's weird.
I don't know. I find it hard to speculate around what they are right now because they are what they are. It sucks. Get someone else new in there, fix it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Would you want to see Bedard there?
No.
Okay.
No. They've not once popped on my radar of teams I want to get him.
Let's do a 2-minute Bedard watch. We're creeping up on an hour. So, San Jose, 50 points in 67 games. Columbus, 47 points in 65 games. San Jose sneaking up on Columbus. Chicago's down there too. Anaheim's been winning a little bit. Arizona's kind of pretty much assured themselves a spot outside of the top 4 lottery odds. And then you've got Montreal, Philly, Vancouver, hilariously, has been playing great ever since the deadline. Who do you want to get Bedard out of those bottom 4? Columbus, San Jose, Chicago, Anaheim.
Probably either Columbus or San Jose.
Yeah, me too. Although I still really like the idea of him in Anaheim.
Yeah, me too. I just think I would rather see the California
True.
Like rivalries develop more.
True. It's so exciting that the draft lottery is going to be in like 2 months and we'll know who's going to get them. It's crazy. I'm starting to really like the idea of Arizona maybe trying to draft Mitchkov if he drops in the draft. But another topic for another day. Thank you for attending our Bedard Watch. Ryan, you got anything else? This ended up going a little bit longer than I thought it was going to.
No, I got nothing else, sir.
All right. So long story short, Ottawa's blowing this. Philly sucks, and go Marner. Those are the takeaways from today's pod. Yeah, busy Sunday as well. How many games we got tomorrow? 3. Typical NHL.
Classic.
Catch us on Tuesday for episode 15.